Recently, I've had a few people reach out and ask me how I became a UX designer. So in this video, I'm going to share my story of how I became a user experience designer with no bootcamp, no course, and coming from a graphic design background. I'm working on a video for those who don't have a design background to see how they could get into UX design from scratch. So that means no bootcamp, no course, no degree, and giving you lots of tips and resources of how you can get there. But even if you don't have a design background, I'm hoping that some of the things I share in my story you'll be able to take away and implement in your own pursuit of a UX design career. So let's dive in. For some context, I've always been interested in art and design, and right up until college, I wanted to be a fine artist. And I was lucky enough that when I went to college, I had a fine art course that was very varied, and that's where I got exposed to graphic design, and I fell in love with it. It was brilliant, and that's what I went on to pursue at university. So I spent 3 years studying graphic design at De Montfort University, and I added in an additional Erasmus year studying visual design in France. After graduating, I went on to do lots of little design internships and took on a lot of freelance projects as a graphic designer. Then, through the power of LinkedIn, I landed my first in-house design job at a digital agency, and they were very well versed in web design, so I grew a lot in that aspect, learning web design, but they also provided a lot of print and graphic design services. Here, I'd say I became a well-rounded designer, but I was at a point in my career where I was ready for a change and to grow further as a designer. I was there for 4 years, and around that time, I felt that I was ready to find a new role. I wanted to be involved with projects at a much earlier stage and also have the opportunity to present my work to clients. So I began working on my design portfolio and starting to look for more senior design roles. Then came along a fantastic opportunity. A recruiter, shout out Sam, reached out to me on LinkedIn with a web design role opportunity. And I went to go for an interview with the CEO, having sent across my portfolio, and it went really well. I loved the values and everything about the company, what they stood for. And along the way, internally, the requirements changed and therefore the role changed. So the web design role I had applied for then became a UX design role. And they got back to me and asked if that's something I would be interested in re-interviewing for before they made it public. So I got the first chance to go for this if I wanted to. And of course, I said yes. So that meant I would need to go and re-interview with members of their team and take on a UX design task. So while they were working out things internally, I immediately went off to prepare. When a good opportunity presents itself, you should take it and work out how you'll make it happen along the way. This is something that I learned from Richard Branson's book, Screw It, Just Do It. It's a short but brilliant read. So after having my Richard Branson moment, I dived straight into research and began to see a lot of overlaps between my current role and the role of a UX designer, which just made me feel more encouraged to pursue a career in UX design. While the company were finalising the details of the interview and the role, I took this time to prepare. Now, it was only a few weeks, but I felt like the time flew by. And if I were to chop that time into actionable chunks, I would tell anyone with this kind of opportunity or looking to apply for these jobs to prepare, to practice, and to present. So the first step was preparing for the interview. So I talked about that briefly, where I did a lot of research. So I was watching all of the YouTube videos, reading Medium article after Medium article, anything I could get my hands on. I was just taking it all in. And then with what I took in, I had to practice. To anyone that would listen, I would explain the job role, I would tell them about UX design, and then I'd kind of interview them after and ask them if they understood what I'd explained to them as UX. Did they have any questions? Whenever they had questions, I jotted them down and just thought of a better way to explain it to someone who outside of the industry in a way that they would understand. Because I think if I can make someone who isn't a designer understand the roles and responsibilities of a UX designer, then it's a very clear explanation. And then finally, I presented. So I ran through presentations by myself. I walked around the house talking about UX design. I made my husband listen to me talk about UX design. Sometimes I'd slip it into conversation when I phoned my mum. I just made myself feel confident practicing and presenting because I was a little bit nervous, if I was honest, because of course I didn't know everything about UX design. Whereas with digital design, I was very confident and very knowledgeable, which I think came across in my interview. So to kind of build on that and mirror that in this upcoming interview for UX design, I just learnt a lot, practiced a lot, and the more I knew, the more I grew in confidence. And as you know, the interview was a success. The task went well, and I actually really impressed them. For the design task, I had about a day from finding out day gap to work on it to then presenting to basically do a presentation about the UX design process, something I'd recently learned about, and translate into how I'd approach a task taking on board and implementing the UX design process, which I will expand on in another video. But both of those went really well and I got the job. So I hope you found my video useful. Thank you for watching, and do not forget to subscribe because I am going to go into more detail about how to prepare for UX design interviews, how to prepare your work, what to do to get internships, lots of things that will help you and your step towards getting a UX design career, or even just building on the career that you have started. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!